Okay, everyone, I'm going to kick it off. Hello, my name is Pippa Yates. I'm one of the co-founders of Turn, and we're here to scale effective support to people everywhere. And really glad to welcome you all to our September Town Hall. Please, for those of you that have been here before, you know we like to have cameras on because it's really boring chatting to a whole lot of black screens. So if you're able and willing, please do let us see your lovely faces. We are recording this session so that we can spread the learning that we have here with more people. But if you feel comfortable, would love to see your faces. Today, we have got a lot in store for you. And I don't know about you, but September has been a really busy month for us at Turn. I mean, I think we think every month is busy, and then the next one comes around and it's even busier. But this month, there were quite a lot of firsts. So for me, it was the first month I woke up in bed, I started reading the news, and next minute I saw an article on Young Africa Live, who I'll community case study today. And Young Africa Live was one of the very first projects I worked at in my very first job very many years ago, unfortunately. And so it's very close to our heart, and it's amazing to we're going to hear about the journey of how it's been iterated on and evolved over the last more than 10 years. So I'm very excited to see that. And then I also created my first WhatsApp channel. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, we're going to talk about it a little bit later in the session. But WhatsApp is launching a lot of new features. Our team in India, Indrani and Manish, and Simon flew over for Conversations, the Meta Business Messaging Conference, which has been run over the last couple of days. But our team's also been all over the place. Our Latin America team has been at the Health Innovation Show, which is the largest health tech event in Latin America. We've also been at health tech events here in Cape Town as well. And Gustav's all the way over in the US, in San Francisco and Seattle, meeting with big tech partners and trying to figure out ways in which we can further this community of Chat for Impact. And our mandate to kind of use chat to have a social impact more broadly. So I'm very excited for the lineup today. So I'm going to hand over to the wonderful Kanya, who's going to introduce the community.
Thank you very much, Pippa. Hello, everyone. Also equally excited to see your lovely faces again. And as Pippa mentioned, it's been a great September. I think also being a September baby, that also adds a bit of amazingness to the month. I'd like to welcome our community, which is ever growing. And first up, we have the following organizations. We have Kasha, which is East Africa's leading platform for last mile access to healthcare. Right? Kasha provides a broad range of integrated basket products that support health across life stages, from newborn child health, maternal health, menstrual hygiene, family planning, SRH, and many more. We also have Copia Kenya, which provides access to the previously underserved market of middle to low income African consumers. Through Copia Kenya, people who do not have internet can still make purchases through their digitally enabled agents and frequently updated print product catalogs. They are building a self-learning training program on WhatsApp for their agents to easily get accredited by Copia to be their merchants and resell their products. We also have Dr. Connect, which is a digital health platform that provides access to personalized medical care using a comprehensive wellness-based approach and genetic analysis. They currently have over 50,000 users registered on their platform and want to implement a WhatsApp solution to amplify their reach and provide easy access and support to their users. Excitingly as well, we have the Biomedical Research and Training Institute, which is based out in Zimbabwe, which implements research projects and provides training and support services in the public health space. They've partnered with the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine to create a mobile phone messaging intervention for young people in Zimbabwe. The intervention aims to improve young people's attitudes towards contraception, promote safer sex behaviors, and increase demand for health services within the local context of Zimbabwe. We also have an amazing organization that is in the civic engagement space called Uplift Ireland, which is a people-centered campaigning community, which has over 350,000 users registered on it. Through online petitions and campaigns, they promote people to take action and coordinated action against the social ills within that country. And lastly, we have the True Companion Foundation, which is a nonprofit based out in Ghana, committed to providing a platform for the inspiration and empowerment of young children and youths, specifically young girls. So we look forward to the work that these amazing organizations are going to be doing on Turn, and we're quite excited to support them as they keep building and scaling their WhatsApp chat services. I'd now like to hand over to Lisa to take us through the next section.
Thank you so much, Kanye. Really appreciate that. I'm very excited for the new partners to have joined the community. I have had the privilege for the last 6 weeks to be working with 10 amazing organizations in the Chat for Impact Accelerator. And I'm very happy to announce that Demo Day is around the corner. Having said that, please save the 3rd of October to come and see what have we been doing. You'll get to see each of these organizations' use case, how they've been working painstakingly, learning from different experts in the market and building out their WhatsApp service specifically aimed at improving health outcomes. The link to register is on the screen, and you can also share, do the QR code and you will be able to register for that. So make a note to put that in your diaries. We will be sharing this across the different groups and channels of communication, but just wanted to formally invite you and come and celebrate with us to see the amazing work that they've done. Now over to Nielke.
Thanks, Lisa, and hello, everyone. It's great to be together. I'm going to take you guys through just some of the latest things in the product and also what you can expect in the near future. So last month, we talked a lot about, you can go to the next slide, about privacy features and a whole series of features that we've launched, and we've launched a whole series of playbooks that we really want to encourage you guys to use. I just want to call out that every admin in Turn now has an additional page on the settings around people, and the people settings page allow you to set the privacy level of like individual contact field. So if you think about the help desk, it's great because you have long-term engagement with people, but that also means that over time you collect information that doesn't always have to be visible to everyone answering questions, and an admin user can now go and set that some of these fields are just not visible to non-admins, right? There's no way for them to see it. There's also an overall setting where all names and all numbers can be hidden, and it's really with a lens of privacy by design, so that the end user, the information that gets exchanged is the only things that is really needed. So I'll ping articles after I've presented that you guys can go and familiarize yourself with, but I just want to make sure that no one is missing out on these things. And then on the canvas, as you know, we'll continue to work and to mature the canvas. So I want to share what's latest there. You all want to always be ready to reach out, right? And I think if you've been with Turn and you've been on the WhatsApp platform, you will be very familiar with templates, maybe different feelings around templates and getting them approved. But just want to call out that templates are now on the canvas. It follows the same pattern as other places in Turn. There's a really nice @ icon, so make sure that you use contact fields. The more personalized messaging is, especially template messages, the greater the experience for the user. So just want to call that out explicitly. And then I want to give you guys a glimpse. So templates is on the canvas, and I think what comes next will have you way more excited. So we are working on triggers on the canvas, and especially time-based triggers. So let's imagine 5 days after the sign update, those kind of triggers that's relative to profile fields, also specific date time settings. Templates is needed to communicate outside of 24 hours. And soon you will start seeing these product updates coming through. And yeah, just very excited to put triggers onto the canvas, and very specifically time-based triggers. So yeah, we'll share on the Townhall WhatsApp group as these things go into the product. And then something we've also heard and had requests for many times, if you're using the help desk and you have a multi-operator setup, a big part is which conversations aren't assigned and aren't taken care of by a team member already. So there's a brand new default collection on Turn, an unassigned collection. Every single chat that hasn't been assigned to a person, you can easily go and find there. Remember, you can always now assign from the chat list. And this will also filter into work that that's in development to make all of the assignment more automated behind the scenes, and kind of distribute chats behind, well, to all your operators that's available at the time. But use the unassigned collection. I know there's a bunch of people that have requested it, and I just want to make sure that you are aware that it's there, and we love you to make the teams, just faster to get help from humans to humans. And then last one from me on the product side, soon you'll see a different layout of the inbox. Think of it as a reimagined inbox that's really centered around the operator experience as well. There will be powerful things like your inbox, so the things that you need to take care of. We will let you know when there's when you can expect it. It will be a change. Always want feedback from you guys. But we, just want to say that keep an eye on the Townhall group, keep an eye on Learn. There's a specific product update section. There's a great bunch of stuff that we're building, and we love for you to use it and be very sure about it. And then next up is there was Pippa kind of started sharing about it, but there's been a big Meta conference that was held in Mumbai in this week, their Business Messaging Global Conference. Simon, our co-founder, Manish, who a bunch of you will know, a solutions engineer, and Indrani, who leads the partnerships in India and APAC. The three of them attended and represented Turn. We also had some community members from Nuera and from Araman that was there. So always great to meet up in person. And we just want to give a little bit of hot off the press news. So what has Meta shared at the conference, things that will also get you guys excited. Meta is launching WhatsApp channels. I think they've been trialing it in a few countries, and they're now ready to roll it out to 150 countries. Think of it as a feature that really expand the platform's use case. It let users follow people or organizations that they are interested in without leaving the app. So it's like a broadcasting tool where an organization can share updates, and there will be a new tab called Updates, and it's separate from user chats, right? So I can go and let's say I follow the World Health Organization or Mark Zuckerberg, kind of whatever they announce or updates that they share, I can follow that along. There are that data will only be available for 30 days, and there's limits to it. Will be text and images and videos and stickers. But that's something that's new from their side, and that they've tested it, but they're rolling and making it available to a broader audience. Then something else that they showcased, and I think there's a Wami link that you can interact with that we'll also share in the channel, but in the chat. It's really a new rich menus and form feature. So initially list got us all very excited because you can book an appointment, and it was just different to text messaging. But the new, what they call it, WhatsApp flows, is really like a multiple actions. Like in the screenshots, you can see like booking a trip and where you're going from, and where like destination and origin and dates. And they are launching these features. It's all brand new. It will launch on the Cloud API, and we don't have access to any of it yet, but we thought we'll give you guys glimpses onto what they are busy with behind the scenes. And as the weeks and the months unfold, we'll learn what it means for Turn, and we'll learn what it means for the Chat for Impact community, but it gets us all very excited. And then payments is something that WhatsApp have been trialing initially in Brazil and also in Singapore, and they've now announced in this week that they're also going to roll it out to India. So payments is really a way where the end user can have a payment method of their choice. In India, it will be supported by the UPI apps, debit and credit cards. And the whole idea is that you can do a whole bunch of transactions without leaving the app, right? The flows and the payments is that thing of going to WhatsApp, engaging with a business, doing a whole bunch of actions, ending with a payment, and all of that without leaving the app. So that's news from their end. As I've said, we'll share as we unpack it and as we get access to these things, but we didn't want to leave you without knowing what they're up to. And so, yeah, get excited alongside us for all of that. And then I'm handing over to Kanya.
Thank you very much, Nilka. Some exciting stuff coming up from Meta's side. Moving right along, as part of our community this month, we've invited the team from Copy Collective, which is a global consulting collaborative focused on understanding, analyzing, and advancing equity. Now, they've also been working with Meta to create Chatbots for Change Playbook, which is a practical guide on how to create, grow, and scale chatbots for social good. So without me saying too much, I'd love to introduce Tara Calvecchia, who is a senior consultant with Copy Collective, to tell us more about this playbook and the work that they've been doing with Meta. Over to you, Tara.
Thank you so much, Kanya, and thank you so much to the Turn team for inviting us here today to share a little bit about this playbook with you all. So as Kanya said, I'm Tara, I'm with Copy Collective, and a little over a year ago, we were approached by Meta to help create this playbook. Go to the next slide. And the reason that Meta came to us was because, I mean, as many of you know very well, right, there has been an explosion in inbound interest at Meta in creating chatbots for social good. And this was, you know, obviously accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic. But as Meta attempted to respond to all of these requests and saw tremendous growth and potential, they also were documenting a lot of different challenges that these partners working in the social good space were experiencing. And these had to do with many different things, but there were kind of four main buckets that they prioritized trying to figure out how to support their partners in. So in the impact area, they saw that there was a real need for more standardized measurement of impact. There was a lack of demonstration of impact. There were issues around scaling solutions due to a lack of best practices that were available for sharing. So in particular in marketing, so how do you market your chatbot for social good? How do you make sure people are aware of it? How do you make sure it's super clear around how to sign up for the chatbot service? How do you acquire new users? How do you keep them engaged? Business models was another area where they felt like different partners needed support in. Reusable materials, meaning guidelines, standards, templates, content, all of these kinds of things that could be reused and repurposed so that different partners in the social impact space using WhatsApp chatbots didn't have to start from scratch. There would be a place to start from. And then finally, partnerships. So how can these organizations be better guided to approach the right kinds of partners in the right way? Who do they need to work with so that their chatbots are successful in scaling and being sustainable and being impactful? So with those challenges in mind, we worked to create a pretty comprehensive playbook, which covers what we've decided are 4 different modules. And these modules cover how to analyze the problem, how to scope the solution, how to define your impact. So how to create a MEL framework, how to think about a theory of change, plan and strategize, which covers business models, business plans, marketing strategy, and then finally, design, develop, and demo, which is focused on content and tech considerations. And the reason that the playbook is organized in this fashion is actually pretty intentional. When we talked to, so we conducted interviews with lots of different stakeholders, including members of the Turn community and graduates from different accelerator programs who actually been very successful and very helpful in sharing both challenges, but also solutions to some of these issues. When we talk to people, we found out that a lot of time what ends up happening, and it's understandable, is that everyone is so eager to develop the solution that they put a lot of the critical strategic stuff, decision making and planning and thinking after developing the solution. So we purposefully reoriented this playbook to really put some of that strategic decision making up front. Next slide. So who is this for? It's really for anyone that is working with chatbots for social good already or is interested in doing so. But it's particularly relevant, we feel, for organizations and individuals that are really that are deeply in the kind of the initial stages of the project lifecycle, so that are in the analysis, planning, strategizing, and design phases. Like I said, because a lot of the resources and information in here are helpful for those parts of the project lifecycle. But I think it's super relevant. Even if you're further down the line, I think there's a lot of stuff that resonates regardless. And it's also, I think, helpful to go back. Sometimes we're pushed with deadlines and some of these considerations get waylaid. So I think it also can be helpful to look back and reevaluate, okay, did we actually define the problem correctly? Or did we actually, did the business model that we thought would resonate for our solution and our organization early on, does that still make sense for us? Or now that we're scaling, do we want to revisit? And then lastly, so the last thing about the playbook and who it's for is that we take maternal newborn child health as an example throughout the playbook to really give concrete real life examples of chatbots that are being used in practice throughout. Also, it's an area where we feel like there are some of the more robust best practices and lessons learned, both from the chatbot field specifically, but also from the digital health field more broadly. So that's kind of woven throughout, but it's for anyone working in the social good space, but perhaps even more so if you're in the MNCH field. So I'm not going to go too in depth in each of the modules, but just to kind of highlight some of the different things that are included in each. In the Analyze module, we have what we tried to include were really concrete exercises as well as information and references. So in this module, we have a market sizing exercise where you can define and size your potential addressable market. And this is useful because it will help you as you look to define scale. So what is your denominator? How many people are you going to try and actually reach with your solution? It's helpful as you pitch, as you think about your impact. So we provide a pretty concrete exercise that you can go through just sitting at your desk to think about this. Similarly, we have scorecard exercises to think about the need, the reach, and the growth for your specific chatbot in your target market. So what are kind of the enabling factors and barriers to those three different areas? And then in addition, considerations for how to overcome them or alternative kind of solution areas that you can explore depending on what you find in those three areas. And then finally, a bit of an overview of how to conduct your formative research. So a list of methodologies, questions you will want to consider, and a spotlight on how to use human-centered design. So then in the Define Your Impact module, we focus on how to create a theory of change that will then feed into your monitoring, evaluation, and learning framework. And we have an overview of some of the kind of key impact indicators that you'll want to really clearly define for your chatbot solution, and that you'll use to measure effectiveness and impact, and obviously are part of your theory of change and your MEL framework. Slide. This is a beefy module. It has a lot in it. So this is the Plan and Strategize module. It covers how to create a business plan. It has a list of different business models that have been used already for chatbots for social good. So what are the different models? What kinds of payers or donors might be interested in those models? And then where along kind of the project lifecycle might you be able to utilize those models? So if you're in the early stages, if you're just launching, or if you're scaling your solution, the kinds of models that you might be able to utilize and the different interested payers and donors obviously will change. And then what are the considerations for each model? So issues around, so if you're going to use data, sharing of data, what are some of the privacy concerns? What are some of the capacities that you'll need on your team if you're going to be selling data analysis and insights, those kinds of things. And then just like on a very practical basis, one of the things that we heard when we did interviews and talked to experts was it would just be really helpful to have an overview of different capital drivers and recurring costs for developing and scaling a chatbot solution. So we came up with a list of those, and we created a budget template that can easily be repurposed. And then finally, we came up with a pitch template. So some of the different things that you'll want to have on hand as you pitch to donors or payers. And this ties directly back to that business model, and also has a related research plan for how you'll measure the different things that the different donors or payers will want to see over time. Then we have a marketing strategy on how to market your chatbot and acquire new users, and an overview of both digital and non-digital channels that you could use with considerations for each. And then we have a partnership section, which covers types of partners, the activities that they will likely be involved in, and as you work with them on your chatbot, some different principles of success for working with these different types of partners. And then we have a partner engagement mapping worksheet, which is a mouthful, but it's basically to plot partner roles and level of effort along the project life cycle. So you can kind of think about who you'll need to bring in, when, and how this will evolve over time. And once again, that's contingent on who you are as an organization or a company, where you're based, what your chatbot solution is, all of those kinds of things. So then lastly, and once again, this was with intent that this was the last module, is the design, develop, and demo module. And I think with this one, what we have more of our focus was on the content side of things. And this is because of who we are at Kati Collective. We have a lot more experience in developing content for digital solutions, but also because the toolkit isn't really aimed at developers and tech folk that really know the tech piece backwards and forwards. It's more aimed at people more like myself who come from a development background or a public health background, who are going to be more likely working on the content side of things. So the content section covers how to map out your content that your chatbot will use, how to create engaging content, how to do user testing, how to adapt that content to the local context, and how to get review from the right people and their approval as well. And a lot of that draws from the mobile messaging field and our background, but of course there's a lot that also is specific to WhatsApp and chatbots. So we've tried to bridge both. And then finally, we have the tech considerations section, which is aimed at providing both an overview of some of the key technical terms that, once again, someone who isn't a developer and doesn't have a tech background will need to know just to be able to work on these kinds of solutions, and to work with developers, and to work with BSPs, and to work with the people on their teams that are more steeped in the tech side of things. So what is a knowledge base, for example? How do you design a conversational flow? We have an exercise there that's kind of a hands-on visual exercise that a whole team can do together to kind of outline how the content will flow. And it can be played around with over time as content changes or the solution changes. An overview of some of the key different technical partners, how to choose a BSP that is right for you, and what are the considerations for choosing a BSP? What is a BSP? And then last but not least, the different types of chatbots. You know, there's a wide range of different chatbot solutions that have varying layers of complexity or simplicity. How do you choose the right one for your social good case, for your target audience, for your market, and your budget? So in a nutshell, that is what this pretty hefty but comprehensive playbook covers right now. It's meant to be very modular, so it is long. It is over 100 pages long, but it's very modular and is meant to be jumped into based on whatever it is you need to get to and want to get to. You should be pretty quickly able to get there. So you can take it in whole or in pieces, depending on what you need to know or what you're struggling with or what you're interested in. As I said earlier, it's meant to be really interactive and practical. So we have a lot of hands-on exercises, not just tons of information, but things you can actually do in real time at your desk with this on hand. It has concise best practices, both up front and in each of the sections, so that you can kind of see some of the key takeaways without having to do too much reading and scrolling. It has abundant real life examples. So we did a pretty extensive literature review to see what's been published, but also lots of scrolling through Turn's community pages and stuff to see what solutions already exist, and have linked to those as examples. So things are more concrete for people as they read this. It leverages existing materials. There's a lot of great stuff out there, including the Turn Learn resources. So we really didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So if there's a section we felt was important to include, but the materials already existed, we simply provide links and direct links to these sources. And finally, it's meant to be an evergreen kind of collaborative resource. So we invite you all to have a look and let us know what you think. And if there's stuff that you feel is could be beefed up or is missing or new information emerges, please let us know. We want to keep this relevant and fresh. So I think that's it. The final thing I'll say is that we haven't yet found a home for this resource. We are still sorting out where it's going to live and what it's going to look like. We're hoping to put it on a website in a way that's really easily able to be navigated. But for now, we're going to share it with you all as a PDF, because the last thing we want is for it to just gather dust in my Dropbox. We want to get it out as soon as possible, so it's used and it's helpful by everyone who needs it. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Tara. And I see there's already a question in the chat window, so please feel free to answer that question in the chat as well. And in the interest of time, we're going to jump right next into our community showcase. This month, we're closing off our town hall, and I'm quite excited actually to introduce and to chat to a former colleague and a great friend of mine, Carlos Llerena, who is the Director of Partnerships and Growth at Reach Digital Health. Hi, Carlos, how are you?
Good, brother. How you doing? Great to be here.
I'm good, man. Thank you very much. As I said, I'm looking forward to actually chatting to you today. But I think first of all, could you tell us a bit more about Reach Digital Health?
Sure. So just briefly, and some of you might be familiar with our former name as Preco.org, but Reach Digital Health, we built on now 16 years of experience, really scaling digital health programs to really serve and to expand the reach of healthcare services information across different audiences. So a lot of our work has to do with people and the communities that they live in, and as to late, we've served over 200 countries and territories through the work that we did during COVID-19 through highly available mobile technology. And so though most of our work has really been here in South Africa from an implementation perspective, we are now looking to expanding our reach, and hence the name change, to other areas in Africa, specifically Mozambique, Rwanda, Kenya, Zanzibar, Nigeria, DRC, to mention a few. So just very quickly and briefly about us.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that, Carlos. Now, I know that you've partnered and you've recently launched a program called Young Africa Live. Can you tell us what Young Africa Live is and who the target audience is for that?
Sure, and we really hope that we made justice to that initial project that people was involved in. But yeah, so firstly, I think Young Africa Live really responds to the need that we've identified and we know of from many young people, not only in South Africa but across the continent, and that has to do with accurate and engaging information around historically difficult topics, or taboo topics around sex, navigating relationships, gender dynamics, sexuality, HIV, mental health, to mention a few. And so, we've known that most large-scale approaches to date to address some of these topics have really been following a cadre or a curricula that it's quite dry, it's really antiquated, and it follows that historically rigid sexual education sort of formula. And so what YAL is trying to accomplish is that firstly we recognize that there is that need to provide appropriate content to these young audiences, but also knowing that, as we all do, these audiences are very dynamic and they change as well. And so we want to make sure that the content that we provide to them is relevant, is accessible, but most importantly, it makes sense to them so that they can act upon it. Our target population is specifically here in South Africa is 15 to 24 years of age, which focuses on that bulk of the young population in the country.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Carlos. I think with that in mind, can you explain then how you're using chat within the Young Africa Live program?
Yeah, so with Young Africa Live, we had the opportunity to implement and test our evolved theory of change. And the beginning of that sort of theory of change focuses on what I said earlier, which is identifying and segmenting the type of audience we are engaging. So I mentioned it's 15 to 24, but even within that, you have specific age ranges that behave and have different interests, but also going a level deeper, you have obviously the gender component, you have socioeconomic variables that affect that specific user group. And so what we're trying to do is to understand firstly who we're talking to. We know we're talking to the youth, but what exactly are they facing, uniquely speaking, so that we can obviously then share the information that is relevant to them. And so the ability for us to use WhatsApp as a tool that is much more engaging, and we're always excited to see the new developments of WhatsApp as a tool, but also what Turn is developing on their end, which makes these sort of approach more engaging. It makes it more friendly, so you're not feeling that you're just talking to a machine to that extent, but you relate to the type of questions that have been asked to you. And so that's the way that we've been sort of using chat, and it has helped us, or it helps us to understand who exactly are we talking to, so that when we can send that information to them.
Perfect. Thank you for that answer. I think now over the next couple of slides, can you maybe take us through how you provide this content to your users?
Sure. So I think going to the first one, as I mentioned, the ability to use chat has allowed us to create this non-judgmental avatar. Obviously, the avatar adjusts to your profile. So at the beginning, we will ask you some questions. And then that will define the type of communication that we will have with you. And so, the idea here is, since we're addressing specific topics that had been tabooed or are difficult in some cases to be addressed, we want to make sure that the user doesn't feel judged or that the communication doesn't feel rigid. And hence, this feature has really allowed us to have that engagement with the user. Next to that, if we go to the next slide, is the content, right? So now that we know who we're talking to through that engagement or that initial engagement, we're able to make content that is relevant to these users so that they can, act upon it. And so through a combination of push messaging, we make this content available through browsable or searchable means. And one thing to note here is that a lot of these content that we are able to make available for these users comes from that interchangeable two-channel engagement that we have, because we're not only engaging these users through WhatsApp, but there's a Facebook sort of channel and group where open discussions can happen. So we can through social listening pick up some of those topics, and then based on that interest, make them available through a more private engagement through WhatsApp. Next to this, it's then a little bit on the how. So it's browsable and searchable, but we also understand that different audiences within this age target group may behave different or may consume information differently. And so from that perspective, we try to also make the content available in ways that it will be easier for them to consume. And so through gamified approach, through quizzes, through even audio, we make sure that these content takes different forms and adapts to the requirements and how these users can then consume and hopefully ultimately act upon this information. Going to the next one, so we spoke about this one, which is the edutainment content. The guided user journeys, I think it's quite an important piece and feature to dwell into. As I mentioned, one of the main important things that we're trying to address here through our theory of change is to make sure that we know who we're talking to, so that information, whether it's through video, gamified approach, quizzes, or whatever the case may be, is then relevant, then provides or sort of creates unique user journeys for these audiences. And so from that perspective, once we understand who this user is, we're then able to take them through a journey that is unique and specific for him or her, or wherever the user might choose to. And so that way we make sure that through a decision-making tree, we can have different scenarios that have potential different content in different manners that speaks to the needs and interests of our users. And I think just to maybe close upon the next slide, because I can go on and on about these features, I think I'll just want to leave you here with a quick video that maybe helps you understand a little bit more what Young Africa Live is. So we can play.
As young people, we're judged for having sex and relationships, even though they're a normal part of life. It doesn't stop us from having them, but it means we can't always look for help in the right places. Instead, we turn to unreliable sources like our friends and the internet for information and advice that isn't always legit. Luckily, there's another option. Young Africa Live is a digital platform for young people by young people that empowers us to explore and embrace our sexuality and make informed decisions about our health and well-being. It's a place for us to have conversations about sex, identity, and relationships, and get the answers we need exactly when we need them, without judgment. And the best part is, it's always accessible. We can talk openly with our peers on Facebook or have secure, private conversations with a customizable smart bot on WhatsApp, or we can switch between the two. It's easy. The platform empowers us to make our own choices when it comes to our health and well-being. It offers tailored suggestions and advice, like when and where to visit clinics, how to source medicine, what healthy relationships look like, and so much more. And it's constantly learning. We don't just get the answers we're looking for. The more we use it, the better it gets at predicting and offering us content we didn't even know we needed. That's how it keeps us engaged and healthy. It also groups us together based on our needs and serves us relevant content that evolves as we do. Young Africa Live is building a world where every young person is prepared to safely navigate the exciting, sometimes complicated road of sex, identity, relationships, and mental well-being. But they can't do it without your help. Visit Young Africa Live to find out more.
That's an amazing video, Carlos, and thank you very much for sharing it. I think, again, in the interest of time, and apologies, everyone, we're running just a couple of minutes behind schedule. But I think these are some valuable insights that both the Kati collective team and Young Africa Live is sharing. There's a QR code in which you can scan and just engage and interact with the service on your side. And I only have one last question for Carlos, and then I'll hand over to my co-founder, Pippa, to close us out. So Carlos, with the amazing work that you guys have done, and I mean, Pippa alluded to it earlier on in the conversation that she's also had a part to play and knows about Young Africa Live. What does wild success look like for Young Africa Live in a nutshell for you guys?
Yeah, so I think it's a two-sided answer to that, Kenya. I think we are still running our Merle study on Young Africa Live in South Africa, and that is meant to be done by the end of the year. So, we're looking forward to finding some of those results. And I think for South Africa, based on those results, I think that the success would look like in terms of innovation, what sort of connection to services on the ground we can do, bring other partners into the space that can contribute at different levels and maybe more on the ground services and products. So that is in South Africa, but as the name of the system says, this is for Africa, and so for us, expansion across the region would be also successful. So taking the learnings, but then adapting to different contexts. And actually, we've been having very encouraging discussions for this to take off in Nigeria. So stay tuned. Maybe next time we present, it would be around the Nigeria piece. So thank you, Kenya. Very enjoyed.
Thank you very much, Carlos. Again, we don't have time, unfortunately, for a Q&A, and I think just being cautious of time, I'm going to hand over to my co-founder, Pippa. But for those that want to reach out to Carlos, please do so. He'll share his email address on the chat. So if you have any questions about Reach Digital Health and the work that they be doing on that side, and also Young Africa Live. So thank you very much for your time, Carlos, and also as well, Tara, for sharing with us your playbook. Over to you, Pippa.
Thanks, Kenya. Yeah, I also want to extend my thanks to Tara and the team for the Chat for Change playbook. I must say, we've just seen an amazing video from the Reach team that can be used to market their services, and I'm really glad that Chat for Change playbook specifically focus on marketing tactics and how you can use those to scale your service. I think we all sit and hope that 1 million users will come and find our chatbot or spread virally. But we need a bit of help there. And so I'm really glad that it focuses on those types of tactics, but also specifically non-digital ones as well. I think we often forget that we can still onboard people to digital platforms in person. And what we've actually seen with a couple of customers on Turn is that establishing that trust, having someone be there onboarding you is really important in some of the relationships going forward. But as you can see, sexual and reproductive health is maybe not one of those use cases where you would want to try an in-person marketing strategy. And I was just in Kenya a couple of weeks ago, and visiting the customer service team at Penda Health, and they were saying that they started to get a huge amount of incoming questions at night all around sexual and reproductive health. Those embarrassing questions that people don't want to ask, are a little bit embarrassed. And Young Africa Live is that space as well, that safe space to talk about these things and get the support you need. So really excited about the work that you're doing there, Carlos, and to think about how much iteration and improvement has gone on Young Africa Live over the last 10 years. I mean, the version we were running 10 years ago was a little website that was free to access on Vodacom Live. And it's great to see how these things evolve and get more engaging and personal over the years. So really great job there, and thanks for sharing with us. And just want to say thanks to Nilka as well. I think sexual and reproductive health too is a great use case for these privacy features that have been launched in Turn. You might be collecting really sensitive data, someone's HIV status, for example, right? That's not necessarily something, it might be something you want to use to tailor messaging to that person and automate messaging, but it might not be something you want your help desk operators to ever see or have access to. And these privacy features allow you to switch that site on and off for your help desk operators, so you can make sure that they're delivering care to everyone exactly the same. So I think that is a wrap from us today. Thank you so much for joining, and looking forward to seeing you all in October. Chat to you then.